So AI, time to talk about AI. There are two genres of critique that have emerged about AI recently. One is that it's all hype. There's no there there. It doesn't do what it says. It's oversold. Have you ever tried it? It doesn't work. And then the other is that the ROI isn't there. The costs on the back end, the data centers, uh, and the level of revenue that they've developed so far are not do not justify the output. That basically the level of investment in AI is massively high for the chance that AI will eventually generate a profit. Right? It's just too expensive. It's too expensive for to run the data center. It's too expensive to get the results that we're getting right now, and essentially this is unsustainable. And at some point, we're going to have to switch it off because while it works, um, it costs far more to run the AI than the value that the AI is actually delivering when it comes to LLMs. So those are sort of the two genres of critique out there on a sort of functional basis, right? There are others that are like moralistic, humanistic, blah blah blah. But I'm mostly concerned with the functional critiques um, with regard to AI right now, and I can't speak to the cost. It does seem to me that the valuations are very high. The data center costs are also very high, and to date, revenue and of course profits. I mean, it looks a little bit like .com back in the day, but who knows where this ends up. We have things like DeepSeek that have been innovating with respect to the resource usage and the cost to run. So we'll see if that sort of shakes out over time. With respect to the hype argument, uh, this is uh, bullshit, frankly. The people who are saying, "Oh gosh, it's hype, it doesn't work. Have you tried it?" Clearly, I think either haven't tried it or are trying to use like Alexa Plus. I mean, more on this in a minute. But um, really, like, I use it all the time. I use it professionally all the time. Some of the things that I do professionally involve fairly difficult things to do, right? Writing code for production environments that is fairly complex and hits a bunch of APIs. And the fact is, AI systems can now chuck this out very quickly, and the code works and runs and is actually very reasonable, at least as good as what you would get out of your average junior developer. And that's kind of amazing. That wasn't the case when GPT first blew up, right? Back at the beginning of the LLM emergence, when everybody was talking about GPT as this completely new genre of AI systems, right? The first GPT chatbot that hit the press. Um, Forgive me, alerts on the computer. Um, at that point, code generation was not good. Like it wouldn't work. It wouldn't run. It would be partially nonsensical. And at that point, lots of kinds of output were a little bit off. But this is not the case in 2025, right? And in particular, with platforms like Claude from Anthropic, like people who are not getting good results, I think, have just never been in like a product management role or have never had to write sound tickets for developers to work to. Because if you can create a Jira ticket that is sound that a human dev could use, Claude's going to be able to write that code for you in 9 chances out of 10. And more to the point, Claude's going to be really fast because Claude knows like all the APIs and all the language features and right stuff that humans would have to look into, and that would eat a bunch of time and read the docs or see some examples or explore what libraries or toolkits are out there. Dot dot dot. Um, you can get this done with AI like very very quickly, very quickly, and it works and it's good. And when you go through the code to audit before you go to production, it's not bad at all. And there is an understanding of best practices, and you can discuss best practices with the AI and which ones were adhered to in this code and which ones were not and why and what are the trade-offs and okay, please refactor. We're okay with this trade-off to hit that best practice, blah 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 blah, and it'll do it, right? What it doesn't do well, and I think this is a matter of like sort of token limits, but and maybe a little bit. It might be a little bit beyond LLMs, but what it doesn't really do right now is architecture. Uh, at least at sort of that big picture level. Like I'm going to write some macro piece of software that requires like a data architecture and an application architecture, and so like planning the skeleton is not really the LLM strong point, but that's okay because humans can do that, and that's not necessarily been the most expensive part of this over the years, although it depends on the project. But certainly for a wide variety of tasks. And the same thing goes for generation of human readable text. Same thing goes for images. Like AI is better and faster than people at a lot of different kinds of jobs. And anyone who says this is pure hype and it doesn't work and they're all lying to you has either hasn't used AI or doesn't know how to use AI, right? This is also possible. I do see some people who really, the results they get, it's not about the AI doesn't know how to do it. These are cases in which if they were trying to get a human, if they were trying to manage a junior employee to do these things, they would also end up in 50 rounds of back and forth with the junior employee because they're not very good at specifying what they want, right? And so they end up going a bunch of rounds with the AI in the same way that they would with the junior employee. That's not a failure of LLMs. That's just it's not a failure per se, but it's something that causes people to say, "Oh, AI is hype," even though they would absolutely go rounds with a person as well, based on the way that they provide specifications for their ask, right? But if you can provide good, clear specifications for an ask, which I think most developers can get to the point where they can do this. AI is absolutely great at things like coding. It's great at things like text generation, many kinds of content generation, many kinds of sort of many steps in ETL stages, especially where you would have to like be working with parsers or really complex pattern matching. Like it's really AI is like a huge shortcut in these areas because you can specify things without having to code them up and debug them. And in many cases, the AI will just carry it out, and in other cases, it will write the code for you. So not hype. Uh, on the other hand, it is entirely possible, and I could totally see this because the results are frankly like incredible, right? It's incredible to see um, a hunk of code, a library, an integration in language X, like chucked out by an AI and functional and debugged in the space of like an afternoon. That would take two or three developers like a week previously, right? Like this is very cool. But it's also just a little bit black magical and amazing. I could totally see it being true that it ends up that LLMs are not cost effective at this level. That in fact the amount of energy that we have to spend and thus like the level of expense to get these results when you take the whole system into account and you don't sort of externalize costs that actually what's going on is that it's we're just spending more to operate the LLM than we were spending to have a human do this. All things said and done, and that right now that cost is being footed by sort of investors and venture people and so on. But actually, when they don't see a return, this is all going to go away, and we'll be back to paying humans to do it because they're not as expensive as the AI is, despite the fact that they're slow, right? That we might get to a place where it's AI is kind of the Lamborghini option for some things, right? Like if you're willing to pay, then you can have it fast, but it's going to cost you. I could see that being the case. I don't know. I have no insight into this. I haven't run any numbers. I'm not probably qualified to run a bunch of numbers of that sort. I'm not a big time investor. I'm not deeply embroiled in building these data centers, although it seems like they're popping up like sort of weeds everywhere. But as far as the functionality goes, if you haven't played with AI in a serious way, if you haven't used it in a serious way, um, you are behind the curve. It's like being the person in 2001 who's still using paper filing cabinets. Like, don't be that person. And it's not hype. It's not like, oh, this doesn't work. Like, that's BS. That said, there are better and worse AIs. So it also may be a function of where are you. Apologies, phone sounds. Don't know if you can hear that. It might also be a function of where are people trying to do this, because all AIs are not created equal. So GPT, pretty good at a lot of things. Maybe not the best coder. Maybe not the best at formal structured tasks. Very good with language. Very good with sort of patterns of reasoning that have played out before. Right. So what AI doesn't necessarily do is things that humans have never thought of before. The happy truth is that almost everything that you're going to ask an AI as a regular Joe Schmo has been thought of before and is out there somewhere in the training set, right? On the internet, in the journals, whatever. Other people have talked about it before. Ergo, AI is going to be able to repeat that thought process and apply it to your task. This is GPT is very good at this. Claude is very good at this. Gemini is pretty good at this. Um, but there are AI platforms, some people are playing with things like Perplexity, or at the other end, things like Alexa Plus. These are very purpose specific and not sort of commensurate with what people are getting out of the sort of leading AI platforms, particularly in the case of some, like sort of the consumer assistants like Alexa Plus, like uh, frankly, Alexa Plus is garbage. It just, it doesn't work well. It doesn't work well. It's well behind. I don't know what Bezos is doing. I don't know what Amazon's doing. They should have this all sealed up. I'm in the process. I've been an Amazon Echo user for some time, and once Plus rolled out and I had a chance to try it, we're going to switch everything here to Google devices and Gemini, I presume. I actually haven't done the research to make sure that Gemini is available, but I assume it is because it's available on my Android device, and it's frankly ridiculously smooth and frictionless. Uh, it is a superb experience if you have, and here's another wrinkle on things. If you have a device that's new enough to do this, I do have a family member who's got sort of an aging Samsung device, and when they try to use Gemini on that device, the conversation gets a little stilted. It's slow, it's halting. Some things don't quite work as expected. It feels a lot like Alexa Plus feels right now. But on my Android device, which is a recent flagship, um, it is like having a person in your pocket. And Gemini is fantastically useful, fantastically frictionless. If you close your eyes, you can forget that it's an AI. The conversation rolls smoothly. It knows a whole bunch of stuff. It does like RAG, presumably retrieval or augmented generation, right? It looks stuff up seamlessly and and rapidly, so that it doesn't feel awkward at all. And and so it is platform dependent, right? This is the other thing that I think may be driving some of this hype discussion. Maybe I get the sense very often that a lot of the people who are sort of rolling out content saying, it's all nonsense. Have you ever tried it? Actually, what they've may have tried are sort of feature editions uh, of LLM feature editions in products that they already use, and in some cases those may be suboptimal, and or they may just not be spectacular at clearly asking questions or providing instructions, as many people aren't, right? This is like computer science 101. What do people struggle with in semester one? And some people drop out of computer science programs by like semester three for this reason. It's that very precise, concrete thinking about A, B, C, D. What are the steps? What am I asking for? Right? Specification and disambiguation. Those kinds of being clear, thinking clearly. If you are muddled in your thinking with AI is going to muddle it right back, just like humans do, right? This is why in group work as a professor, when you have students get together in groups and do things, some groups of students flail and produce nothing. Other groups of students get right down to work and make you say, "Gosh, why are they even here? They should be out in the real world as professionals because they're just chucking this stuff out and it's fantastic." A lot of that just has to do with clear thinking. Do people understand what the problem is, what the solution thereafter uh, looks like in broad strokes, right? Do they understand how to pursue a solution when starting with a problem, um, or or are they sort of ad hoc? Um, Not reasoning is the wrong word. Are they sort of a cross between? Are they sort of discursively confabulating as they aspire to a solution, right? Because if that's what you're doing with GPT or with Claude, then yeah, it's gonna do the same right back, right? You're gonna end up in a chat that goes nowhere. Um, but for those folks who aren't that way, uh, and who are using the right platforms, right? Not sort of, I mean, I would almost call Alexa Plus at this point like a scam. Like they're going to charge for this. I understand. Like this is, it feels like a half baked um, vaporware excuse for an LLM voice assistant. Like it's just not there, right? And it's sad that a lot of people will think this is what LLMs do, when in fact it's like a nonsense implementation at this stage. So if you're on the right platforms and you can think in the right ways and engage in discussion in the right ways, AI is absolutely incredibly productivity enhancing and incredibly productive, and a little bit scary, right? It's coming for you. It's coming for me. Uh, our jobs in our world are going to change, and if somebody, if you meet somebody who says this is not the case, either they've run the numbers and they're making a bet that this is all going to go offline because it's not cost effective, which may be the case, right? That bet may be a good one, or they're just not interacting with it well, right? They don't have that. I think I think some folks like myself who've been in tech for a long time and who have been in product management roles and who are full stack devs and all that kind of stuff, implicitly know how to make AI sing because we can give clear clear problem statements, clear solution specifications, and we can also give clear instructions about the structure of the output, right, and the steps to be taken along the way. And in those cases, it's fantastic, right, and also highly problematic because it makes you think. Sometimes it makes you think, like, gosh, what are they paying me for, right? And it also makes you realize, well, they're paying me because I can be creative. I have like I can be human generative, which is a different kind of generative, right? I can theoretically, this is like Hannah Arendt territory with natality, right? I can come up with net new things that have never been seen before in the universe because human imagination, whatever the underlying architecture of that is, but it is a little scary sometimes to think, my value is now in my imagination, right? My value is now the value of an architect, a solutions architect, for various kinds of problems. Because, you know, as a human, not every day is imagination day, right? You're not always, sometimes being able to get paid for going through the motions is a good thing because it means that you don't have to be imagination on like 24/7. But if AI ends up being cost effective, if this is really where we are and it's not that this is going to be switched off because nobody's going to pay for it, we may be there, right? Where the value that we bring is imagination, and the task at hand, if you want to be employed, is to be to steal a phrase from, I think, was this Lucasfilm or Disney back in the day? I mean, these days they're the same thing. So whatever. To steal a term, we may have to become Imagineers to get paid. right? And leave the grunt work to the AIs. But in any case, that's what I got for you today. AI, not hype. Can't comment on the cost benefit ROI thing. And gosh, if you've just used like Alexa Plus or Perplexity or something, like go use one of the top three LLMs. Um, don't don't get stuck with like Siri, right? Like go try Gemini, especially on a phone. Like it's amazing, right? That experience is, as an older guy, um, I would say it's like something straight out of Star Trek, right? It's for real, and brush up on that imagination and start. If you haven't done this yet, um, and you're out there in the professional world, start trying to get AI to do stuff for you, and also start studying up on how to be a good specifier, right? Look into those kinds of practices, how to communicate and think clearly, express yourself clearly, um, craft requirements clearly, and desired outcomes clearly, because that's what's going to get you the best performance out of AI platforms, um, and then scare the pants off of you as you do it when you realize like this is better in 5 minutes than I could do in a day, and where does that leave me? Have had that thought a lot, um, but that's where we are. Don't get left behind. All right, that's all I got.